When you realize that you can learn something from everyone, everyone will become someone. What's up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I'm your host, Coach Willie Blake, and I'm here also with my co-host, Ian Sturmer. And we got a good day today because we're not going into a single book. For this wonderful special episode, we're jumping into a book that has impacted us that we have not gone over before. And probably won't be going over. Just, I don't know, just because there's a lot of great books out there. Yeah, there are. If you guys have heard this channel before, you know that my voice is usually not like this. And that today you get Special Willie, who has been sick the last couple days, and his voice has just been shot. All of you are hearing the best version of my voice over the last couple days.
We love this husky, sexy voice, Willie. So,
yeah, I just gotta go a little deeper and a little slower. All right, everybody. Okay, Ian, let's start this out. Do you want to go first with your book, or do you want to go first with me?
Sure, I'll go ahead since you started that and introduced me. My book today is one of the first kind of self-help, personal development books I ever read. Some 30 years ago. And one of the biggest influences on me that kind of moved me this direction. We probably will never go over this book for two reasons. One, it is long out of print and only found in secondhand stores. And two, not to go through our secrets here, but we tend to listen to the audios of a lot of these books rather than the physical ones, because we can do that while we're driving and so forth. And I don't think this is in an audio version. So unless I were to read it to you, Willie, you're probably not going to get a chance to read this one.
Yeah, probably not.
Back in the old days, before electricity, before computers and cell phones and Google services and all these things, we had to rely on paper. And we had day timers around for a long time. But a new company came out that kind of changed what this could do, how this planning worked. And that was the Franklin Day Planner. So I don't know if you or some of our readers are familiar with Franklin, but one of the founders of the Franklin Day Planner is Robert F. Bennett. And he wrote an incredible book called Gaining Control. And this book has a couple of principles that I still bring up continually. And longtime listeners will probably recognize, if they remember me, me bringing up one of these principles I'm going to start out with from this book. He talks about something called the belief window. And understanding this concept has really changed how I see the world, because it's all about how you see the world. The idea of the belief window is we all have a window in front of our face. Maybe you could say AI glasses now. And everything that happens in the world is filtered through that window. And as we learn things, we write them on that window. And really, those are prejudices we have. Now, a prejudice we always say is a bad thing, but in reality, a prejudice is a tool our brain uses so it doesn't have to think so much. Said, oh, this is what happens in this situation, so you can react, you can make a judgment without having to see every single time. Quite often it's bad, but there's good to it as well. So the idea of this belief window is when you see something, it's filtered through there. So we never actually see reality. we see how we filter that reality. So, for instance, if you think, Hawaii is relaxing. I'm trying to think of a non-bad example. Every time you go to Hawaii, you're going to feel relaxed, because even if you see the hustle and the bustle around Honolulu, it's filtered through that window that is telling you this is a relaxing place. And it changes your reality to fit what you think is happening. Now, that can be good or bad. If it's I am productive in the morning, then when you wake up in the morning, you feel more productive because that's how you're seeing things. I struggle to get up in the morning, then you're going to struggle because that's how you see things. And recognizing that window is in front of your face. And what's coming through there is filtered by your past experiences, your own ideas and thoughts. Once you recognize that, you can start to examine what's on that window and say what's correct and what's not correct. What are the correct principles and the incorrect principles written on that window? And as you start to fix those, one, you get a more clear, realistic view of the world. And two, you can adjust those things on that window to become the world you want it to be. Not to fake the world, but say getting up early in the morning makes me more productive. Well, let's start putting that on the window so we become more productive. So this belief window comes up so much in my life as I look at things, as I'm talking to some of my clients and working with people and explaining, you may think this, but is that reality or is that your belief window? So I talked a lot about this. I've thrown this concept at you, Willie. What do you think? Beneficial, load of malarkey, weirds?
Oh, yeah. Just full of crap.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to anything. I also was trying to find a good example. I think of my kid. Anytime, my second kid specifically, she'll get up on the bed and she loves to like jump to me whenever I come in the room and she's on there for me to give her a hug and to give her a piggyback. But there are times when I'm just not paying attention. So in her own belief window, right, it's like in her belief window, if I'm just standing there, even if I'm not looking at her or something's in my hand, in her head, regardless of anything else, she's like, oh, dad is there. I jumped to dad.
Right.
Yeah. And there have been times to where I'd either have like packages in my hand or even had the baby in the other, and she'd be like, dad, and she'd jump. And I'd have to like grab her with my other arm or drop the pack, not the baby, but drop the packages that I had just to catch her so that she didn't fall and hurt herself. And so all in all, I'm with you. I'm with you on this, that there's just this filter between what reality is and what we think that it is. And I love using the traffic or example when you're going through rush hour coming home and a car cuts you off. Most people that I've heard go into this mode of, you have dishonored me, dishonored my family, dishonored my cow. You have dishonored everything for cutting me off. I am so angry at you. I'm going to lay on my horn. I'm going to flip you off. I'm going to do everything. When the reality might just be they're trying to get home after a long day. Or you can even go to the extreme of maybe they're headed to the hospital because the family member is about to pass away. Or that they're trying to get to the hospital because a baby is about to be born. We just don't know. But in our head, it goes through that filter of, well, this is it because this is what I believe. And man, in society today, if we think that something is real, how egotistical we are to just stick with it and not be open to everything else. That's why when the late Charlie Kirk was doing his thing, that's why when politicians have the opposite side, ask them questions, it's always like, this is the way. You are wrong because I think this way. And they're thinking through that filter rather than the whole spectrum and reality of it. So, in all, I agree with the concept.
Yeah. Well, I have to throw out two things there. First of all, I appreciate your example, and I know that no matter what happens in life, I will never disrespect your cow. So
I appreciate that.
There. And just thinking back an example of that in history, the Nixon-Kennedy debates when they were both running for president, and that was the first televised debate, presidential debate, if I remember correctly from this. And they interviewed people after this debate, and the people that listened on the radio to this debate overwhelmingly thought that Nixon did the best. The people who watched it on TV overwhelmingly thought that Kennedy did the best. And I won't go into who's the better president because I don't know enough of my history to really say that.
George Washington.
Yeah. But there was a belief in there that as they listened to it, they were listening for certain cues, probably who sounded the best, who had the nicest sounding voice, who had the fewest ums and ahs. Please don't count mine on this podcast. The people who watched it on TV saw that Kennedy was overwhelmingly better looking than Nixon, and they were judged that way. And those people on their belief window said that if you are good looking, you must be smarter. You must be better presidential material. It's so easy in so much of life to just allow those things to go through our filter and not pay attention. I like XYZ product, so that must be the best one to invest in. I like this person, so he must be a great business partner. Whatever these things are, without really examining that window. So I don't want to kill that whole concept, but if you happen to be in a used bookstore and come across this book, Gaining Control by Robert F. Bennett, highly recommend you pick it up and read through it. A lot of hugely great concepts in there. And I haven't even got it in the meat of it, which is the control model, which would take too long for this podcast. So take a look at Gaining Control and gain some control in your life.
I love it. I love it. And I don't know if you got that reference, Dishonor on Your Cow. It's from the Disney movie Mulan. When, I think it was Mushu. He's like, dishonor on your family, dishonor on you, dishonor on my family, dishonor on your cow. I think he was talking to Mulan. Anyway, fun Disney reference there. Now with my book that I have, it is also by someone whose name is Robert. This is one of the first books that I ever read and got into, and it is a small purple book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Very good one.
Now this is a bestseller. Whenever anyone brings up Robert Kiyosaki, this is the book that people talk about. I don't think we'll ever talk about this book on here, simply for the reason of there are so many other books, and we don't tend to go after financial books as often. And the financial books that we do go after don't tend to be books that are like this. But that's why we have it here. So what I love about this book is I'm always huge for the story type format that self-help books go into. So like Leadership and Self-Deception, The Go-Giver, both those books are really good because they take this story format that teaches you lessons. And I really like that. Robert does that at the beginning of his book, where him and his friend, his dad was the poor dad and his friend's dad was the rich dad. And so the story was, if I'm remembering right, it's been a while since I've read it, is that...
We'll correct you if you're wrong. Don't worry.
Yeah. You and everyone in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that him and his friend go to the store, his friend's dad, the rich dad, and the rich dad starts to try to teach them like the real life about money and how it works, and how instead of just being paid like everybody else, to actually start creating the wealth. And so as I think the dad had them working at a store but not paying for them, the rich dad. And so anytime Robert came back to his dad, the poor dad, he'd be like, well, he should be paying you. That's labor. You should be getting a paycheck. But then goes into, I believe it was comic books, that comic books were being thrown out. And so what Robert and his friend did was that they would, kind of like a library, rent them out to people to be able to rent them out to other kids to be able to read. And it'd be like, I don't know, $3 to have the magazine for a week. And then they'd bring him back in. And so it's just like this starting thing of how he started his business. And I like that concept because first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with going out and having a job. That's what makes the economy work. And if you're actually wanting to make more wealth, you can't just be doing a job. You got to have something else that you're building and creative. Unless you go like really niche into a job where you like a plumber or electrician and those type of jobs, or like medical or accountants. Yeah. It's like super in-depth in college or super in-depth in trade school. Those tend to be like where a lot of money is. But the premise of it is to be able to create yourself from problems that other people have. So instead of saying, I like Pokemon, so I'm just going to open a bunch of Pokemon packs and create a YouTube channel off of that. You're going to be one among the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who have Pokemon channels.
Dang, there goes my idea.
Yeah. Gosh darn it. But if you're somebody who is out there trying to think of a problem that's going on, and maybe that's grading Pokemon cards, who knows, then you're just like, okay, they want it graded, they want it to look nice and credible so that it's worth more money. Well, then your idea is, okay, I can then start a company that grades and is professional that can help them to be able to make more money. That's a thrown out there one, but it's just like, what is a problem that the market needs, and you solve it rather than just saying, this is something I like, I'm going to start it, and hopefully people will come and buy it.
Yeah, love that. It's kind of funny because I just had a conversation with a friend a couple of days ago, and she's looking at starting a YouTube channel about breath work. And we were discussing that and saying, okay, how can you make that so it's not what everyone else is doing? How can you make that? And what we came up with was you need to have something that will solve a problem something has. It's great to teach people to become one with the universe. And if that's your thing, it's great. But there's 10,000 channels out there doing that. So how can you make it different? How can you find a problem to solve? And says, oh, you know what? Breath work could help me shoot better at the range. So you know what? There's something, because people don't put breath work and guns together. Those are usually two separate types of people, but there's probably a lot of people who would like both of those things. And you can hit that medium. There's something different from what's already out there. So yeah, love that. You've got to do something different. That's been a meme I've heard way too much lately, so I hate to say it again, but insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's starting up the same business and expecting to get a different results than something else. And for some people, that comfort and stability is good. That's what they want. They want to go to work at 9, get off at 5, come home and have dinner, play with the kids, go to bed, and do the same thing every day and not have to worry. Other people recognize the freedom that comes with money and willing to do something different, work harder, and find a way to make more so that they have different options in life.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be the rich dad someday.
Yeah, being the rich dad would be great. Here's a cool thing off of that is that when it comes to, I will remember my thoughts. It will come back to me.
Yes.
Man, this rarely happens. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'll remember that specific one. But you're right. It comes back to, as I like think about bringing these two books together. It's like, one, the filter in which we think of reality, and then the second one is, what do we do with it? So the problems that come up, just like the breath work in a shooting range, I think that's incredible. I think there be a lot of gun individuals who are out on the range who want to make sure that they hit their targets better. How do you hit your targets? Do breath work. Okay, what the heck does that mean? And then this person can be able to go into like what that looks like, how it works, that it improves their aim by like 17% or 30%. And so, and even like shooting competitions, man, can you imagine if you are just 17% closer to your target? You would jump from that like 30th place to top 3.
Yeah. Probably even a smaller one. I'm thinking, an Olympic 100-meter, I don't know if they call it 100-meter dash in the Olympics, 100-meter race. The difference between the first and second person is measured sometimes in the thousandths of a second. And it kind of reminds me a quote, I'll paraphrase, I don't remember the exact quote, by Mr. Beast. If you want your video to be 100 times or get 100 times more views, you don't have to be 100 times better. You just have to be 1% better than the other video to get 100 times more views. Those tiny incremental changes. And I think that fits with both books. A tiny change can put you ahead of your competition, can make you stand out, even though it's something very small. That might be all it takes to have monumental change when everyone else is doing the same thing, following the same beliefs, the same prejudices, the same outdated ideas about what prosperity is and what the American dream. Is it a stable job that you can work 40 years and then retire and go to Florida once a year? Or is it building your own business and creating and growing and becoming more? I'm not going to answer that because that would reveal my own prejudices that I put on my belief window. But anyone who's watched this podcast or even stumbled upon it probably knows the direction we lean in that.
Yeah, it's because our ideas are our own, but like you can make a lot of money in the job you're working right now. People are out there, you can make more money in your job. Instead of asking what's another job I can do to be able to make a second income or passive income, why not figure out how to make the extra $1,000 in the job you're doing? Maybe it's taking an extra responsibility or a task, or maybe it's just going to your boss's office and asking for a promotion, and that's it. Or maybe it's going out and making one more sale, making one more phone call while everybody else ends at 5:00. You end at 5:01, but that one phone call might be an extra $1,000, $10,000, right? It's just like, it's a small increments that get you from that quote unquote poor place into more of a rich place.
Yeah. Wasn't that The Pursuit of Happiness, where he realized if he, instead of hanging up the phone and picking it up, if he just used his finger to push it down, the time he saved allowed him to make 2 or 3 or 4 more phone calls a day.
I don't know if that was the.
Maybe I read it somewhere.
But the movie.
The movie, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah. And that how if he didn't go to the water cooler, then he wouldn't have to use the bathroom and he could make more calls with that.
Yeah.
And if he like stayed, there's something else. He's like, if he eats at his desk, he'll be able to also make more calls so he doesn't take a lunch. Yeah.
What are simple things? And, I've got a friend who works in a hospital medical field, and he just switched jobs, and his new job has this weird schedule where he's works like 12 hours a day, 7 days. Then he's off 7 days. Then he works 12 hours a day, 7 days. And he took a pay cut to do that. But he realized that when he's off 7 days, he can put himself on call and fill in for people, and now work more in those days that he would have 7 days off. And as a result is making quite a bit more money, even though he gets a lower paycheck, and he still has this time off. So there's things we can do. And, one of my favorite sayings, because I came up with it myself, money can't buy happiness, but poverty can't buy anything. Which I think there's some truth in that. Money may not be everything. It's not going to make you happy, but it's going to give you opportunities. It's going to give you choices that you wouldn't have otherwise. So it can be good. Use your power for good if you have money. Don't put on your belief window having money is evil, but it allows you to do things. Bill Gates was a ruthless businessman who has donated billions of dollars and will likely eliminate malaria in the world, saving hundreds of thousands of lives. There's good in everything, whether you like him or not.
Yeah. And it goes back to the quote that we started with.
Right.
Like if you realize that you can learn something from everyone, then everybody becomes someone. And even like, it's not something that a lot of people like to go into, but if you're talking about leadership, one of the great examples is to learn about Hitler and how he led, because he did a great job at leadership. Everything else was bad.
Yeah.
But he was able to he was able to lead his commanders who led other people, the organizational parts of everything working. Like if you just break it down to the fundamental, take out the good and evil part, like his leadership worked really well. And that's where we like take out the belief from the reality of it. He was a great leader. Everything else was crap. So I'm just going to look at his leadership. Same as, who was I thinking? Oh, somebody else came to my mind. But we'll go with this. Same as like the person who's next door. It might be a Karen. You might have a Karen who's next door, who gets under your skin, who always calls people about everything and puts their nose in everyone's business. But you can learn from Karen about how to be observant. Because, man, Karens are observant and they know to the nitty gritty of what's going on. So if you go with that and say, how does Karen go about finding all these things out? And break it down, take the belief out, just the fundamental, like what happens, you're going to learn something to help your observation skills go.
Yeah. Let me close up mine with a quick story that I heard long ago. I don't know if story or a joke, but a man was traveling late at night, pouring rain, and got a flat tire. So he pulled over and went out to change the tire. And as he takes the lug nuts off, this gust of wind goes and it blows all the lug nuts down a drain. So he's standing in there in the rain. He's lost all the lug nuts to his spare tire. And he hears a voice and he looks up, and there's a mental asylum that he stopped in front of. And there's a patient calling out the window. And the patient says, well, take one nut off of each of the other 3 tires and put it on that tire. And then you'll be able to put the tire in. It'll work till you can get to the garage. And the guy says, wow, that is a great idea. You seem really smart. What are you doing in a mental asylum? And the patient says, well, I'm crazy. I'm not stupid. Um, we tend to judge people too quickly because of a circumstance and not recognize we all have intelligence in different areas. Um, and we need to learn from those things. Someone as evil as Hitler has things to teach us. Someone who may be a great, wonderful leader may have bad things as well. You take the good things, learn from them, you eliminate the bad things, learn from the bad things as well to avoid those things. But yeah, put it all together. Look at who's the rich dad and follow their example. Look at what's on your belief window and understand that. So yeah, we'll relate these books together. So that's my closing thoughts. Thank you for bringing that one up, and I probably need to reread that book as well.
Yeah, and I want to read your book too. And you are summarizing it perfectly. Like the rich dad and poor dad comes back to how you think. Gaining control comes back to how you think. When it comes to being a student for life, learning from everybody comes back to what you of how you think. So my challenge for you, champion, who is listening, is how are you thinking? Think about how you are thinking. And is it really that bad? Is it going to crush your world if you start thinking about the other side of whether it's politics or religion, or whether it's finance and books, or whether it's your wife or your kids bringing in their opinions? Maybe they are right. Who knows? But how are you thinking about it? Start asking that question. How are you thinking? Start learning more, absorbing it, realize that you can learn from everybody, and that your belief filter that you have up could be stopping you for some of the best ways that you yourself can become a champion in your own life. And with that, wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in it, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll be able to find links to the podcast, links to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Till next time, continue to be the champions in your own lives. Continue to improve and listen to others. And always remember that reality is just what we believe. So if we change our beliefs, we're going to see things differently. And that can help in making life better. And we'll see
honor your cows.
And honor your cows. And we'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.